Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show live in the On Purpose Woman Global Community Facebook group. I'm Jenny Robertson, one of the hosts of the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show, and I'm also the founder of the On Purpose Woman Global Community and the founder and publisher of On Purpose Woman magazine. I'm here with Sahffi Lynne, and today we're going to be talking about medicine is music. Sahffi is a medicine musician and a vocal coach, and we're going to have a really good time talking today. And stick around for the entire interview because she's going to give us a song at the end. So, Sahffi, I've known you for a number of years, but for the people who don't know you, I'm going to tell them a little bit about you. So, Sahffi Lynne is a medicine musician and vocal coach whose mission is to offer her music as medicine, to open hearts and connect hearts through song. Sahffi also offers online private lessons and group vocal workshops for those ready to release their voice and their fears using her own vocal ladder teaching method. So welcome, Sahffi. So glad you came to do this with me today.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's so great to see you.
I know. We used to see each other a little more often on live events when we would share the platform sometimes, but I'm not a
Yes.
singer, I'm a speaker, and you're the singer. But I want to be a singer. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. And so let's talk about first, let's just start about your own music journey. Like what brought you to be a singer songwriter and guitar player?
It was quite a strange journey. I knew I wanted to be a musician since I can remember. I remember I was probably 5 or 6 years old, and when we would go visit my cousins in Delaware, my middle cousin Jeffrey, he played drums, and I loved him. He's a sweet man. He was a sweet boy, and he used to sit me on his lap and show me which drum to play. And
Oh,
he'd put on some Kiss, and I was like, yeah. And then he was always like, wow, you're doing good. We had a lot of drummers. We have a lot of drummers in my family. So it just kicked in right away, and I thought I would want to play drums. And back then in elementary school, you could pick an instrument to learn, so I was going to go get the drums. But all the boys were going to play the drums, and then I thought, well, maybe I'll play the flute. And then all the girls were playing the flute, and I was like, I have to be different. And I asked the teacher, what do you have that no one plays? And he said French horn, and I said, okay. So
and
I
how old were
loved
you?
it. What's
How old
that?
were you?
I was probably around 10. Yeah.
Okay. This is like an elementary school band or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
hmm
Mhm.
And I loved it. I mean, I loved music so much, and I just spent all the time practicing. Instead of lunch, I would go practice. When I was in high school, instead of study hall, I would go practice. And I ended up going to the Peabody Conservatory, and I loved it. And then I went up to New York to study with a teacher at Juilliard. And once I got to that level, then it became really serious. You're practicing 8 to 10 hours a day, you're taking
Mhm.
auditions, it becomes very competitive. I was finding my friends like really kind of backstabbing. It just was a very, at that time, it was a very cutthroat environment, at least the one I was in. And
Mhm.
I did not get into music because of that. I got into it
Yeah.
because I loved it.
And you're still kind of a kid. You're still a teenager, I guess, right? Or early
Well, at that
20s.
point, I was, yeah, probably 21,
Yeah, that's a
22.
lot of pressure though for
Yeah.
that age.
Some people love it,
Yeah.
hey, you know, competitive spirit is a good thing, but that wasn't my strong suit. My strong suit was making people feel good. I loved it when they clapped at the end. I loved it when they said, wow, that music was so touching. So I was kind of depressed for a little while. I hopped around. I was a music therapist for a while, which was really beautiful. But it wasn't again, it wasn't, I knew I was supposed to perform, and I just couldn't figure out. And I was waitressing probably when I was about 23, 24. And the guys in the kitchen were like, hey, we need a chick singer for our rock and roll band.
Seriously?
And back then, this was the 90s, and chick singers were like, cool. Alanis Morissette. I kind of looked like her. I had really long hair,
Do you have enough
earth
angst for
hair.
that?
Yeah, I was quite upset. I didn't know what I was doing in life, right? It was perfect timing. So I joined the band, and that was a fun time, but I was quite unhealthy because I was still, I was also dealing with some trauma that had happened as a young woman. And so, but the first time I wrote my own song, I was probably 24, 25. I literally, Ginny, heard angels. That choir. Oh, I remember writing the song and just hearing that in my mind. And now I look back and I'm like, they probably were like, finally, you got it.
We've been sending you all kinds of signs and you
That's
just haven't
right.
kept on to it yet. Wow. That's an amazing story.
Yeah, so then I just kind of kept going. I moved back to Baltimore and, became a member of the Baltimore Songwriters Association. I learned a lot about songwriting. I did some collaborations with different styles. I was in a house music band, and one of my house music songs I co-wrote with Dinga Gaba went #1 in Botswana. So, and I was writing albums, and I just, was having a good old time. But I wasn't really feeling like I was in a genre. I was too
Mhm.
rock and roll for folk. I was too folky for rock and roll. Like I was too emotive for like any kind of indie. It's like weird. Like I remember I was playing in a duo, and my duo partner said, "Why do you always make people cry in our gigs? Like people are coming up to you in tears." And I'm like, "I don't know." And about 5 years ago, I was really literally called to Peru through a friend who was hosting a retreat in Peru. She was looking for a guitar teacher. I said, "Hey, I'll trade you yoga lessons for guitar lessons." And she said, "Actually, I'm hosting this retreat to Peru, and I feel really strongly. I'm feeling a message that you need to come." And I was like, "Whoa!" So she exchanged part of the retreat cost. And my grandmother had just passed away and left us a little money, so I bought an airline ticket. And I had never gone outside the country by myself, much less, I went when I was a kid with my family. And I had just gone to New York by myself to play for industry professionals. I was very, still kind of, a little bit scared of the world. But what a great trip that was. And it's hard for me to believe it was just 5 years ago, because I feel like a brand new person, to be able to find this calling. Part of the retreat was sitting in ayahuasca ceremonies, which for those of you that may not know is a sacred medicine in South America. And it's a very expansive experience when you sit there. And from the very first ceremony, I was playing music, and I felt, wow, now I get it. My music is for healing. My music is for sacred purposes. My music is medicine. And so I embraced that, and it just makes a lot of sense, and it feels good. Like now I understand why I don't really fit in a genre. Although there are lots of medicine musicians now, Trevor Hall, Rising Appalachia, even Michael Franti, he's got a little bit of that, peace, love, these
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
starting to come out a little bit. So I'm really excited. I guess I just had to wait for the right timing, figure out myself a little bit.
Of course, we many of us have had those experiences where, we just know. And you said yes. And so it's another great, I think, idea or a piece of inspiration for those listening is like when something is that obvious, a yes, sometimes you just buy the plane ticket
Yes, that's right.
and
Well,
you
I
feel like,
actually,
okay, I
I
think I'm going to
was,
be safe. So,
yeah,
but I don't know, right? I don't know, but I have to do it. Can you imagine if you hadn't said yes?
I
Yeah.
know. I give myself little props once in a while, because I was really, I kind of thought I was a little crazy. I had never
Mhm.
actually even heard of ayahuasca, and I was very scared, and I was like, I don't know if this is, but I
Is
always
it
have been the
legal?
kind
Right.
of, yeah, I've always been the kind of person that takes a risk, or if I'm scared of something, I feel like I should do that. I heard Oprah say that years ago, decades ago probably. Like if you're afraid of something, that means you should do it. So I was like, okay, I got to do this. So yeah.
Well, and it felt so right. It sounds
Yeah.
yeah. Well, you talk about music is medicine, and now you've told us how you came to be a medicine musician. So, what does that really mean? Like for people who've never heard the term, I've heard music as medicine, but I think music is medicine says something very different.
Hmm, that's the good one. Yeah. As a classical musician, we were trained to play our instruments perfectly so
Mm.
that we could offer the music in the way that the composer intended. So when we played Mahler was different than when we played Mozart, and we had to have a level of expertise on our instrument to be able to do that. And I always felt very, very strongly about that. It was an honor to be able to offer these great pieces of music. And I kind of am feeling that way now as a medicine musician. So technically, a medicine musician is someone who carries a lot of songs that are designed for healing ceremonies. So it can be any kind of ceremony, and so I know a lot of traditional icaros, which are songs written in the ayahuasca tradition. I've learned some different chants and mantras, for maybe yoga classes,
Mhm.
and I also feel like I channel music that comes through me, that wants to be like a message. Usually it's a message for me, but sometimes it resonates, most of the time it resonates with many people. And I feel like a very big responsibility to keep up my instrument, my body, my voice, keep up my guitar playing, and really offer this in a pure way so that the vibrations of the music, the energy of the music can really be entered into the heart space. I think all of us have that, one song that makes us cry, or that one song that we always dance to and makes us happy. Music is the universal language. And, when it's done with the intention of, just this humble intention of offering it for your own connection. I don't feel like I'm healing you. I feel like I'm offering you music so that you can open your heart and do your own healing process. It's incredible to me what people tell me about songs. Oh, that song reminds me of my sister. That song reminds me of this. Reminds me of that. Like every song is interpreted in a different way. But the way you present it, and that's what I loved about classical music, when you can present it in a very high, performance level, that music can be received more fully. So that's pretty much where I am with it.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense to
Yeah.
me. Thank you for doing that work because I know every time I've heard you perform, it's touched something. And I think sometimes we'll be in the same spiritual center. I'll be the speaker, you'll be the musician. And I remember a few times going up on stage after you spoke and saying, Sahffi, in between hearing you, I forget how good you are. And I just forget what you're capable of. And like, oh my gosh, and you've got this voice that is like, it is angels. It is angels singing when you sing. So thank you for using it in a way that benefits so many, so many.
That's so sweet. I was thinking about that before I got on call. I was like, Ginny's always telling me, oh, I always forget how good you are. And I'm like, I wonder if I'm doing something wrong, you know, not being, but I said, no, I'm doing something right because I'm
But
offering
you're
this in
so
the
good.
humble way. Like that's also kind of the path of a medicine musician. You want to be offering it humbly as service, not like, oh, look at me, I want to be famous. It was really more about, okay, this is something, to help you. So
And I
yeah.
think for me too, I think that someone with the skills that you have and the the technical expertise, but also the heart and the soul and the way you write songs, you should be famous. So that's always found. You're still here, like with me on stage. I'm not famous yet either, and I don't really think I want to be anymore.
Well, it's funny. Yeah, I'm not sure that I want that coming on me, but I do. I just follow the music because I do
Yeah.
feel like wherever I'm being led, that's where I need to go, and I want to make sure I'm not cutting off because I know for a long time I was afraid, of being seen or being put down or criticized,
Yeah.
and I just have to let that all go. That's nothing to
Yeah.
do with me. It's just, yeah, yeah. So
You're not everybody's cup of tea.
that's right. That's why there's so many different styles of music.
Exactly. Exactly. And so many tea blends.
That's
I
right.
read something one time that said, you could be the juiciest peach in the orchard, and there'll still be people who don't like juicy peaches.
It's so
And
true.
yeah, but when you're, but before we do the work on ourselves, it's so important. It's so easy to get caught up in that. I mean, I used to do speaking gigs where they would do evaluations at the end, and they would come in the mail. This is before the internet. And a friend and I, who were sometimes on the same platform, we would call each other. Did you get yours? I got mine. You want to open them together? And it could have been, like 100,000 people loved me, and over that one comment.
Isn't it
And I
incredible
would
how
go to that
one?
one
Yeah.
comment and go, oh my gosh, what did I do? Wonder why she said that. I don't, and spend all this energy. But at some point in our lives, we just have to go, this, like you say, it's not about me.
Mm-hmm.
Not about me. The people who need to hear what you need to say, what I need to say, they're there. And
That's
everybody else needs to find their person,
yep.
I used to think it was like, well, if they don't like me, that's too bad. But that wasn't true either because I still got hurt by it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's that false bravado. But the real thing is that it's just all choices.
Yes.
So let's talk a little more practical stuff now. I've always wanted to sing. You might not know that about me.
I did not.
I used to, and I was the little girl that when my parents would leave the house for any length of time, we had this long mirror that was almost like a ballet mirror. It was like long and should have been in a ballet studio. And I would crank up the music and I would get the remote control for the TV and I would perform.
That's
When I was a
awesome.
little, really little girl, I used to perform a lot for anybody who was in the room. And my mother used to think it was cute, and she would tell people, "Oh, Jenny, why don't you?" I did imitations. I had a little play ukulele. I would strum along and I would sing. And if there's more than one person in the room, sometimes one person, if they weren't a family member, I would perform for them. And somewhere around the age of, I think, 8 or 9, it stopped being cute to my mother. And so she would say things like, stop showing off. You always want to be the center of attention. And I started to realize that, okay, I think I equated it with love. Well, I better behave because if I'm showing off, mom's not liking this. So I better be the good girl. And that's when I started to shift my whole behavior. And I was also in an elementary school that we were 6 grades, one teacher, and we would sing. We would do a lot of creative stuff there. We didn't learn much math, but we did a lot of creative stuff. And we would sing together sometimes. I was in the 2nd grade, and I remember her pointing right at me and saying, don't sing out loud, just move your lips.
Oh, that
I
happened
know.
to another one of my
Well, you
students.
probably heard that a
I have.
variation on that story,
Mm,
and that stuck with me. I think forever.
yes.
And I don't think I've got a. I mean, I don't have like an ear piercing voice, but I don't know how to use my voice that well. So, what would you say to somebody like me? Because I've always imagined myself draped across a piano doing a torch song. You
Nice.
know.
Well, first, I would say you're not alone. I actually have another student that had that same exact thing happen to him, where his elementary vocal choir teacher said, "Just mouth the words." This is what I find so often, and my favorite student is the student who always wanted to sing. And there usually is a story like that somewhere. One of my students, her brother told her she couldn't sing, shut up, I mean, there's just variations of that same story. And that subconsciously really quiets us. And I think, especially in this day and age with The Voice, American Idol, the X Factor, we think you've got to be this, like, oh, singer. But I grew up around the campfire with my family singing in harmony. And my sister and I put on plays in the front, and on the uh, fire place hearth, and so for me, I was more comfortable expressing myself, but I was then became a horn player, and then I never sang. I was in the back of the orchestra with something in my face, like I was very
Yeah,
shy.
that takes up a lot of you. Then you can hide behind a French horn for
Yes,
you.
that's right.
Next to that's a tuba, maybe, but
Right. So I didn't really start singing until I got into that band about 24, 25.
Mhm.
And I remember how terrifying it was to stand up in front of people and open my mouth. And then when I started becoming more serious about singing, taking lessons, and how intimidating it was. I would go, take lessons, and the teacher would say, sing from your diaphragm, sing into the mask, and all these singing things. I didn't know what they were talking about.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I just studied Alexander technique. I took different lessons from a lot of different teachers, and had a lot of. My sister's an excellent vocalist and trained vocalist, so I was lucky to have her mentorship. And over the years, I created this vocal ladder. And in the last 5 years, since being on this journey, I realized it coincided with the chakra system,
Wow.
because singing is very healing. I mean, first of all, I looked at my instrument. I'm sorry, I looked at my body as an instrument because I grew up as an instrumentalist, and there is a way that this body makes sound, and a way that you can learn vocal technique and breathing techniques to make the best sound for you, and then you start from there. And just that process alone can, release a lot of stress, a lot of intimidation, a lot of feeling less than, or all those feelings that we feel when we don't think we can sing. You know, they've done. Yeah, I've read articles where they think that people actually sang before they talked to each other. So we can
I have heard that.
definitely, yeah, we can definitely sing.
Yeah.
It's just this, kind of shut down culturally or individually that we've experienced. So this vocal ladder was born out of the way I learned singing myself, and that made sense to me because I'm a very visual learner, and also as an instrumentalist, you start learning the fingerings and the scales, and you understand how to breathe into your instrument and all these things. And I was like, I want to learn how to play my body as an instrument. And the top of the ladder is expression. Of course, we all want to express and be
Mhm.
heard, and but just like a ladder, you have to start at the bottom and keep all the rungs. If there's anything not working here, you can be wobbly, and it's a visual. Like what's I'm not feeling like I can hit that note usually. Let me see. I'm not breathing into my belly, or oh, I'm not staying relaxed. Okay, there's like visual cues you can see.
Okay.
And then also, I also have a lot of people that tell me that their throat chakra is blocked, and I realized that these corresponded with the chakra system, that it's not always the throat chakra. We think that, before we learn how to sing and use our bodies as an instrument, we think everything comes from the throat because that's where the vocal cords are. But actually, the instrument is the whole body. So perhaps, you're not breathing into your belly, and that's our second chakra, our sacral chakra. That's our creativity. Maybe our creativity is stuck, not just our words.
Okay.
So by learning to sing and understanding and then using all these physical aspects and playing our physical body, just like the yogic koshas, there's the physical body, there's the emotional body, there's the energy body, there's the mental body. All these things start working together, they start healing, and then you're able to find your voice. And I've taught this, not just to singers, but also to speakers,
Mhm.
and that seems to, help understand, the whole of the body. And and for me too, it's helped heal so much. For me, singing has, I think, second to meditation, has been the number one thing in my life that's helped me heal and grow and take that risk of going to Peru, and keep being a musician. Even I got a teenager, like all these, I'm just like, I'll keep going, like, because I have this internal, flow, and this internal power that I've gotten from the process of singing. It's very powerful. And I love singing together. I always say when I'm at I don't know if you've heard me say this when we're at the centers together, but I'll say, singing is like a prayer. But when I feel like when we sing together, like the whole universe sings with
Mhm.
us. It's really, not only singing individually, but also with people. This is, they've done studies too that when people are in choirs and they sing together, their heartbeats, start syncing up. So it's very, very powerful. And I feel sad that a lot of people feel that way, like, oh, I
Yeah.
can't sing. Like, it's absolutely not true. You can sing. If you can talk, you can sing. Your vocal cords work. You just need to understand how your body works as an instrument and start there. And then from there, you're going to discover all these pieces of yourself. And it's a really beautiful process. And I'd love to work with you, Jenny.
I know. I'm sitting here going, yeah, yeah. And I don't think there's this, like, underlying thing. Oh God, that person said that. I think that's pretty much gone. But
Hmm.
yet there's this, I think this underlying, you may have heard me say before, I'm a recovering perfectionist. And
Yes.
there are still pieces of my life where it shows up. And it's kind of like, back when I would decide I was going to join the gym. Well, I should probably lose some weight before I even go to the gym, or clean my house before the person who's coming to clean it. I
Right.
should learn to sing a little bit before I go for my first vocal lessons. I won't be so bad. There's weird, just that weird junk
Believe
that
me, I
gets stuck
do.
in
I
there.
have that. I am total perfectionist.
Uh-huh.
I've had to really let that go, and I still have to. One of my friends actually just got back from Guatemala, and she brought me something, beautifully made, and she was saying that they actually, on purpose, make a flaw in the garment to, just represent that nothing is perfect.
That's
Only
beautiful.
spirit is perfect. So
Yeah.
So now, and this is also, classical music. Don't make any mistakes. I mean, that's in my mind. So
Right.
now when I make a mistake, I mean, most of the time people don't notice it. I notice it, but then
Hmm.
I tell myself, well, of course I have to make a mistake because I can't be perfect. Because I'm not spirit. I'm not God.
Yeah.
Like I'm human, and it's good. It's okay. That's part of the experience. So I get that. I do get that.
And if you don't take risks, you never make mistakes. So it's a
Yeah.
really safe place to hang out. Yeah. Something I was actually, it's not that I forgot this, but something I didn't even say about that story from my childhood. My parents were both gospel singers.
Oh, really?
They were in a trio and they traveled from churches. And my dad has had a beautiful like bass voice. My mother was an alto,
Oh,
but
wow.
I don't remember any time singing with them unless we were on a church pew just in a service. But we never sang at home. Isn't it interesting?
Interesting.
They would go rehearse with their third person, but it was yeah. So I think I've got some genes in there, but
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
sure you
nobody ever
do.
encouraged me to sing. I think that's so interesting.
I
Yeah.
can understand that, as a musician, especially in the past when I was kind of a working musician, if people would be like, sing us a song, I'd be like, oh, it's my job, I don't want to.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe, I could see sometimes maybe musicians kind of separating personal and professional life.
See that, yeah. And
Yeah. And
also
also maybe like sometimes maybe they didn't, I mean, being a musician's not a, walk in the park. Maybe they didn't want you to follow. There's many reasons. But now I'm like, someone's like, sing. I'm like, yeah, let's sing all the time. But that's a thing, too, especially trained musicians. We're just like, that's a job, and
boundaries, right? Yeah.
hmm
Yeah. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? I do want to say that when you talk about, how you're so grateful that you do this, you get to do this, and it's just the flow and the healing that you've done. A lot of us would say, well, that just sounds like you really locked into what you're here to do, into your purpose. And however it shows, I'm sure it shows up in a variety of ways within that whole music is medicine piece, but can't imagine doing anything different.
no, I can't. And I do feel blessed. I feel sometimes challenged because there are challenges that come along.
Mhm.
You have to make your own way. I have to do, I don't have I'm raising my kid right now too, which is, also important to me. So I'm not traveling as much as musicians usually do. You have to book your own gigs. There's no real, days off. You don't have sick days. You don't have health insurance that just magically appears through a job. So there's a lot of, and there's also challenges just, socially, like, oh, why don't you get a real job? I
Yeah.
hear that so often. And, I have 10 jobs. I had 1099s last year, like, plus my own students. And,
Mhm.
so but I've come, especially, this has been a silver lining for me for this shutdown because when this all happened, I lost all my work and I was really, really scared. Like, what am I going to do? But my community came out to support me, and I realized, like, I make a difference. That's what I do. And it's even validated me even more, like, yes, I am here doing what I'm supposed to do. And that is something that you hear, right? Especially in these spiritual centers, find do your divine purpose. But when someone does it, it's almost like, especially if you're not famous or making a lot of money, like, what's that? That's just a hobby. Get over yourself,
Right.
But no, I feel more than ever like I feel very proud, and I feel very humbled, and I feel very grateful, yeah, to be able to have this knowledge, to be able to share it, to be able to share the music, and just, yeah, feel very grateful. Thank you.
In my experience, a lot of the people who say things like you can't make money doing that, or when you're going to get a job, or people pay you to speak. I used to hear that in my early days. These are often people who've never taken a risk of their own.
Mm,
And I think there are sometimes well-meaning people who are frightened for you, or
right.
sometimes, I had a cousin tell me one time, why do you get to do that? Why do you get to quit your job and do that? I'm like, wow, that's an interesting question.
Mm,
I didn't get to do it. I had to make some sacrifices.
right.
There were some things I had to say no to say yes to this. And so it's just that, people just filter all their stuff. And sometimes we're on the receiving end of it. But that's why we need people like us around together so we can support each other in doing it.
That's
So,
right. Just kind of like music,
yeah,
just lots of different
exactly.
styles and different styles
Exactly.
of people, and just, yeah, do your best. And try to when someone says that, I try to see where they're coming from. Like you said,
Yeah.
maybe they wish they could do this. Maybe I am here to help them do this. Rather than get angry or feel bad about myself. I've learned over the years, to start having more empathy. It helps. Yeah.
Meet people where they are, right?
Yes, I like that.
Yeah. Was there anything else that you wanted me to touch on that I didn't get to yet? Anything you'd like to add?
No, I'll tell you, I am teaching voice lessons online these days. I
And
had
how
to
can people
close
find out
my
more?
Yeah, you can go to my website. It's sahffi.com, Sahffi. And then if you look up Sahffi on YouTube, I've been putting one video a week. This is so interesting too because I fight with my shyness all the time, and I had been really uh, not wanting to put videos up. And I said, no, 2020 is the year of one video a week, no matter what. And I've been keeping up with it.
Wow.
So, there's a lot of content there if you want to see performances, um, and I'm, working on more. Facebook, Instagram, anywhere, SAHFFI. I'm teaching online right now. And I'm also doing online performances. I've been playing, at the Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Baltimore. They have me once a month, and I've been hosting a couple of my own performances. So, and I'm going to be joining you on September 10th, right?
Yes, for the Light of Truth fundraiser, which you'll all be hearing about a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
Online, we're doing an online fundraiser this year. And so they can reach you there. But you have some music out there too for sale, don't you?
Yes, I do. And my new album is being mastered this week. It
Oh,
was
wow.
Yes.
There was a new album. Wonderful.
This album has really taken its time to come out. The first round of recording just didn't work. And so the second round of recording was in a new studio space. It sounded great. And then I was going to do a fundraising, Kickstarter in March. And then this all happened. It was supposed to be out July 1st. I was going to take it with me to Peru. Was playing in El Festival de Música Medicina, the Medicine Music Festival, just one of a handful of North American people invited, which I'm always so grateful and honored to be a part of that. And I was excited to share new music with everybody because this has been a 2 or 3 year long project now. And then again, rats. But it's getting mastered now. And then I'm just going to take my time because, I don't feel right asking, for a fundraiser right now. And I also, just want to be respectful of Black Lives Matter and everything else that's important right now. But I do feel, that this music is healing, and it's something I'm really proud of. It's beautiful. My sister singing with me, her partner, who I've been playing music with for years, and we went to college together, and it's just, it feels like this really family band offering, and so I'll be excited probably in the fall to release it.
Okay, good. Yeah, well, you have to get it finished so we can buy it and you can
Yes.
make some money to start funding your next album, right?
There you go.
But Sahffi, I want to thank you so much for being with us today. And
Thank
before
you.
we close, I want to tell everybody a little bit about what's coming up, but also stay tuned because Sahffi's going to take us out with a song as soon as I tell you this. So I just want to thank you all for joining us for the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show live in the On Purpose Woman global community here on Facebook. For a list of all of the July and August Real Women, Real Purpose talk show topics, go to the On Purpose Woman magazine, which is onpurposewomanmagazine.com, and check it out in the current issue. And if you love this interview and you want to share it with your friends, you'll find it on our YouTube channel in the next 48 hours. So go over to On Purpose Woman Global Community on YouTube, subscribe, and sign up for notifications. There are already 9 shows over there for you to watch, and this one will be the next one. It'll be easy to find. It'll be right at the top. We do have 2 more interviews this week. On Wednesday, tomorrow, Catherine Yarborough, the other host of this, will interview Sharona Feuderman, where Sharona will share how she is still learning to enjoy the small stuff. And on Thursday, I'll interview Dawn Schuler, and we'll talk about awakening your passion. Dawn is a businesswoman who has always been creative, but she has more than ever, I think, recently tapped into her creative painting. And she's going to talk about how we fit both of those in. How do we live with both of those? And how do we awaken that passion that's been in us for a while? So be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel on the On Purpose Woman Global Community Don't miss any of these. And Sahffi, thank you again, and let's have a song.
Thank you, Ginny. It's been great to talk with you. So this is a song. It's a new song. It's a quarantine song.
Ah,
Bittersweet this life that's taken me on this ride. Bittersweet the pain that sheltered me from the rain. Why am I fighting when lies behind me are just seasons of growth? What am I learning? Stay completely still until I find my focus. Stay completely still. Stay completely still. Focus. Stay completely still and focus on my breath. Bittersweet is truth. It flows like waterfalls between me and you. Bittersweet this time. We've come together, but we don't know the next rhyme. Why are we fighting? What lies behind us are just seasons of growth. What are we learning? Stay completely still until we find our focus. Stay completely still. Stay completely still. Focus. Stay completely still and focus on our similarities, our peace and our clarity, love and humanity. We're all in this together. Bittersweet is death. But what is life without this old friend? Bittersweet are goodbyes, but I know I'll see you on the other side. Why are we fighting when lies ahead of us are seasons of growth? What are we learning? Stay completely still until we find our focus. Stay completely still. Stay completely still. Focus. Stay completely still. Stay completely still. Focus. Stay completely still. Stay completely still. Focus. Stay completely still and focus on my breath.
thank you. Thank you. Bye, everyone.